Evening tonight, episode 11 of our Epic Generation. This is the second last episode, the Q&A of our Epic Generation. And what better way than to discuss one of the topics that I'm most passionate about, which is sustainability and climate action. And tonight I have a really special guest. Her name is Maggie Brownjohn, and she's worked in the engineering, transport, and infrastructure industries, which generally is quite a male-dominant industry. And she was actually born in the Pacific Islands, our Pacific Islands, so she knows all too well about our current climate crisis. And she also left her previous job because they didn't take enough action on climate. So we're going to get her on here today and have a discussion and get her thoughts on all of this. And it's going to be very interesting. So stay tuned. Got a lot in store tonight. Hey, how you going?
Hi, good.
Thank you for jumping on, and thank you for your time. So let's jump straight into it, Maggie. Quickly, just give us a summary of yourself and also the ration challenge you're doing at the moment. That's fantastic.
So I'll start with the ration challenge. It's basically run by Act for Peace. It's to show, well, I'm doing it because I care about refugees, and I know a lot of people are actually facing a lot of starvation right now. So for a week, we survive on rations. I started on Sunday. Been pretty hungry. Kind of moving off a few lentils, a bit of oil, and I think it's 3 tofu blocks and a bit of rice, a bit of flour. So the money goes towards food, medicine, education. You can find out a bit more on their website, actforpeace.rationchallenge.org.au, and I think 121 million more people might be pushed into starvation according to Oxfam. And it's not just Syria. It's Republic of Congo, Afghanistan, Venezuela, West African Sahel, Ethiopia, Sudan, South Sudan, Syria, and Haiti. So we should be grateful for the food we have on our table each night, I think.
Absolutely. Oh, I'll chuck on that detail to your link. So if anyone wants to donate, they can. And that's great. Really, really good initiative there. So we'll jump on the second question, which is, can you please give us a brief background about your background in transport engineering structure? Yeah.
So I've got a broad background, but so I was born and raised in Papua New Guinea, and we know all too well about climate change. The Carteret Islands, which are a low-lying atoll group of islands, were one of the first climate change refugees. They're going under. They're facing issues, rising sea levels, king tides, losing their water supply. So I have been, and I am passionate about fighting climate change. I have been for a while. I've stood in those protests, over a decade ago, because Pacific Islanders will be among the first to lose their homes permanently. Sea levels are not going down anytime soon. But my professional background is in development economics and engineering. In transport specifically, I've worked on road, rail, and power infrastructure corridors, so railway planning studies, and also in a bit of road research. And my personal research interests lately are on possible heatwave scenarios and the heat island effect. And some of you may or may not know that heat waves are actually one of the biggest killers in Australia, probably after pandemics, and is one of the biggest killers on the planet. 2/3 of people live in urban areas, and heat island effect increases temperatures, and you never really hear about the killer unless infrastructure fails or malls overflow. So it's kind of an interest area of mine right now, because I do care that we don't lose our human capitals and people who need to be well, healthy, and productive to fight climate change. So
Fantastic. And the third question I have for you tonight is, what are your solutions for transport?
There are so many, but based on my current interest reading and research, I think a great one would be promoting active transport and promoting renewable energy through the installation of transport corridors. So what I mean is not solar panels on the ground, because they're at risk of dust covering them and reducing their efficiency and productivity, but more like roofs. So roofs are good because it means that you provide shade and also rain shelter, I suppose, if you're riding your bike, if you're walking your dog, particularly where there are no trees. During a heat wave or during a really hot summer period, it might cool it down by a few degrees, the walking path or the transport path, so that minimizes your risk of heat stroke. Protects your dog from burning its paws. Asphalt can get pretty hot, so above 55 degrees Celsius, which is hot enough to, I think a roast chicken is 55 degrees Celsius internal, thermometer temperature once it's cooked.
Wow.
Slow roasted. And it also means that if your solar panels are local and they're where you want them for power, you could charge night lights, you could charge your mobile phone, electric scooters, electric bikes, or even your electric car. But I prefer tuk-tuks because if you're going to 5 out of the 7 days a week, go from home to work, and if most of your trips are possibly less than 20 kilometers, it's more energy efficient to manufacture because it's less tons of steel to move one person that distance each day. And because it's less steel, which is a very energy intensive industry, it's less to manufacture, and it's also less to run because you're not hauling that mass every single day just to move that one person in the vehicle, particularly if you're not, ride sharing. So I think that is a better option. And I know our MIT have done solar tuk-tuk challenges where they've driven tuk-tuks up the East Coast to demonstrate that the solar panel on a tuk-tuk works. And I think that's fantastic.
That's amazing. Tuk-tuks are awesome in general. That's great. All right, Maggie, question number 4. Tell me about minimizing the urban heat island effect with roof options.
Okay, so I'm going to talk about green roofs and white roofs and what is being done. I guess New York is doing a lot in this area, for example. So white roofs are great because they reflect light, like the full spectrum of light, back into space. And what you're doing is you're restoring the planet's total albedo, which is like your reflection of sunlight back into space. So your ice caps, for example, are like a huge mirror, and they're melting and they're shrinking their surface area. So we probably need to be doing more to offset that. And if you think about urbanization and the amount of concrete, asphalt, which is black and absorbs a lot of heat rather than reflecting it, we've got a lot of heat that's held in our cities, which goes into our oceans, really. So what New York's programs do is they paint roofs white, and apparently that, through their studies, have reduced temperatures by up to a few degrees, and that heat radiates into your home, particularly if you don't have insulation. But you shouldn't forget also that hot air also rises, so that's coming off your pavements and your roads, possibly into your house, from the brick in your walls. So one of Paris had heat waves, and people who statistically, if you lived in the top floor of an apartment, you're at higher risk because of heat rising through people's apartments. So that's one way to painting it white. And green roofs are great as well because they're a lot cooler. Grass, generally, plants are a lot cooler than concrete and asphalt and brick and tiles. And there are combined roof options that have like solar panel on green roofs even. So you've got a cooling effect and you're capturing energy for a local supply and a backup should your power stations fail, like has happened in California recently, where they had rolling blackouts in the middle of an extreme heat wave. I think Hawthorne, we had blackouts about 2 years ago. South Australia, they put on diesel generators as a backup. So it's a, it could happen. But one thing you can do also is, I suppose, during a heat wave, turn off your appliances in your home. Something like your fridge dumps heat into your house, and that traps. And then your air conditioner's got to work harder to remove it from your building. So there are a few things you can do to generally save energy, generate renewable energy, but also survive a heat wave. And green roofs are great as well because you're putting oxygen back into the atmosphere. as well as taking CO2 out. So you're tackling climate change in multiple ways there.
Yeah, that's a good one. Oh, fantastic. And the last question I have for you is, what are Maggie's top recommendations for viewers and our community to do to act on climate more in their own homes and as individuals?
Yeah, as individuals, because we've got millions to billions of people on this planet, and even small shifts in our behavior can, cumulatively make a difference. So 3 things you could do in your home. My family comes from a rainforest in PNG. We're rainforest people, so I care about rainforests and I care about biodiversity. We're losing biodiversity at an alarming rate. So I'm going to say minimize your wood product use. That's your paper bags, your paper towels, your tissue paper, and your toilet paper. So I try to use a hanky, because 1 hanky is less boxes of tissues. I refuse. The 3rd and 2nd or 5th serviette that they hand out to you at a fast food outlet, I say no to the bag, bring my own containers. The small things that, every year actually make a big difference. Use recycled toilet paper rather than, a rainforest to wipe your butt, because that's habitat. That's your oxygen that you should be breathing. That's CO2 sequestration. That's like, what's it worth? It's not worth flushing down the toilet. I don't know. And in theory, we should be deforestation net zero by 2020, but no countries achieve that yet. And what's the future going to look like? I don't know. Second one would be, don't buy what you don't need. Don't waste. I think David Attenborough has kept on plugging that, and I agree with him. So the 6 R's: reuse, recycle, refuse, reduce, repair, regift, recover. A lot of my furniture is secondhand. I'm pretty minimalistically in terms of lifestyle. The other one, I don't know whether you can in Melbourne, but I know in Queensland when I was there, you could get a free energy audit of your home, and they install a smart meter and everything, and you can monitor how you're going and drive energy efficiency. So if you get an audit done, maybe you can identify ways that you can reduce your power bill as well. And the last one would be vote at your next election for someone who has a climate change and a biodiversity policy, because you get what you vote for. If we truly care about the future, we need to elect people who care about the future too. And that's, I think I can't emphasize enough.
Fantastic. That's an underrated one, and I agree with you there. Thank you so much for your time. That was fantastic. And I'll chuck all your details on the bottom. Was anything else you wanted to leave the viewers with as any final message?
That collectively we can make a difference, and we have to. I mean, I actually believe it's a matter of life or death. If not me, I think we are the last generation that can do a significant amount about, we can do something. We have to.
Absolutely. No, well said. Well, thank you so much for your time, and have a good rest of the week.
Likewise. Thanks for having me on.
See you later.
Bye.